Okay, so out of that, maybe we'll talk about which definition. How I remember a series of tubes. Okay, that's wonderful. How I remember the definition of the internet is as someone has given. I think it's Mark's definition. Network of networks. That is actually not collection of web pages. That's a very important concept. I hope you will get the discussion. And if you ever feel that you're not getting the concept, let me know. Internet is not collection of websites. Internet is a network of networks. What does that mean? There are thousands and millions of network all over the world. If you combine all those scattered networks at different locations and you combine them into a one network, that is called the internet. We are talking about the internet that we use in the day. So what is the point here? The catch here. The catch is that usually we start thinking that internet is a collection of websites, which is not true at all. Internet is the name of the infrastructure, is the name of the infrastructure that we use to connect multiple devices, thousands, and I can say safely millions of devices together into a single network that is called the internet. Now a question comes as Neil gave in the definition. Neil gave the definition, a collection of networks and web pages linked together. What is this web pages then linked together or something like that? For that, the word is web. Now, what is a web? Web or specifically World Wide Web? You would have heard about that. World Wide Web. You would have heard www, and this is very common sense. Neil, what do you mean by word is shared web pages? Even you see that, Neil. First of all, listen about this web, and then you can better separate these two things together. What is web, or what is World Wide Web, or what is www? Now, here comes that definition of web pages. World Wide Web is typically collection of web pages that we can access by using the internet. I hope I made my point clear. Now, World Wide Web is considered as a virtual directory or a place on internet which has all the websites stored into it, and those websites can be accessed by using the internet as an infrastructure. So now, typically speaking, what we are saying that web contains, like web means World Wide Web. www World Wide Web contains web pages that we can access. Can anyone complete my sentence? By using the internet. Is that making sense to all of you? This is very important. World Wide Web is typically that virtual sort of directory that has all the web pages stored on that one, mostly, and we access those web pages. To access those web pages, the infrastructure that we use is basically called as the internet or the network of networks. So the infrastructure used to access things is the internet, and the content that we access is called the World Wide Web content, or the websites that have been linked together, that have been stored at different servers and things like that. So there are multiple explanations for that one. Now it means remember, internet and web are very different from each other. And as I said, that usually it makes little sense for guys that they say that internet or web both are same things. Not the case. World Wide Web is different from World Wide Web is very different from the internet, because the internet is typically the infrastructure that we use, and by using this infrastructure we access what is called web. So what you can see, typically what another statement we can give over here. We say that World Wide Web runs on top of the internet. So World Wide Web is basically a place where we are storing our website. And what we do is that we use internet architecture, internet infrastructure to go there and access those websites. And that should not be an unfamiliar thing for anyone. You see that we usually say www.gmail.com. So what is this www? This www is the World Wide Web that contains the websites. Now to access this www.gmail.com, do I need internet? What is your answer? Do I need internet to access this www.gmail.com? So gmail.com is a website that is residing on www, World Wide Web, which is sort of a virtual directory. And what I need is internet infrastructure, internet architecture, if you want to access the gmail.com from the World Wide Web. So I hope now you understand. World Wide Web is sort of a virtual directory where all those websites are being stored, and the internet is the infrastructure that you will be using to access those web pages. Are you getting that? So now this is very interesting. Okay, so the first difference should be clear now. From today onwards, you know that web is different and internet is different. Internet, when you say internet, we are talking about the infrastructure, you are talking about the internet technologies, you are talking about the connecting devices, connecting servers, you so to speak. They are connecting devices and so many things. And when someone asks you what is web, you will say, okay, web is a way to access applications or websites on by using the internet, that we'll be running internet, or we'll be working on that typical architecture. The architecture of the internet will be just working on that one. Now, how does the web works, or how does the web work? The question is how web works. Now, this is very interesting, and you need to just understand. You might feel that today what we are discussing looks like a theoretical concept, but believe you me that if you understand this concept, you will be a better developer because these are the theoretical concepts that you need to know, that what's basically going on under the hood, and you need to know that what's going on under the hood. How web typically works, right? So web works through something which is called protocols. Now this is very interesting. We'll talk about lots of protocols, but there are few which are very familiar to us, which are very very much known to us. So web works on protocols, or by using protocols. And Ian has already mentioned IP addresses. That's wonderful. Ian, you are very right. Yes, exactly, Neil. HTTP protocol, FTP protocol. There are a number of protocols, and I'll talk about those protocols and those few things over here. Now, as Ian mentioned, the first protocol is IP, and this IP is Internet Protocol. Internet Protocol, IP. Now, what is this IP? IP is very interesting, and you would have heard IP address. I'm talking to those who are hearing for the first time. Have you heard IP address? What is the IP address of that machine? What is the IP address? So Internet Protocol address is typically an address of any resource on internet or the network. So IP address, as its name suggests, it's an Internet Protocol address. It refers to the address of a website, you can say of a web resource, and it's generally called as IP. So IP is one of the protocols that is used by web, and it really finds out. So for example, if I talk about, like, you might have there, we might have two. Yes, so it's a right definition. We might have two guys with the same name. For example, we have Mark Hannum, and we have two Mark Hannums maybe in a class. But there is something that will differentiate them. That is their student ID. So student ID is an address or is a typical identification through which I will recognize that which Mark Hannum I'm talking about, whatever. So in the same way as Neil has given the definition, a unique identifiable address to access a computer or device. When you want to access, so unique, I'm just, trying to copy that same definition, identifiable address to access a device or computer, whatever. Now, IP address is basically an address of a device, of a machine. So right now I am working on a machine. I have some IP address. You are working on a machine. You have some IP address, and I'll let you know that how you can check all those things. But today, right now, I'm just talking about few interesting things. Now, this is one of the protocols that we have talked about, IP, Internet Protocol. So web works with the IP protocol. So, okay, I want to access someone. I want to send something to this machine. I want to send something to other machine. I need to have its IP address. The IP address is the unique identifiable address through which I can access any device. I can send something to a device. I can receive something from a device. Now, there is another very interesting one, HTTP, which is called hypertext. Right, hypertext transfer protocol. Hypertext transfer protocol. Just be mindful that this hypertext transfer protocol is something very, very, very important, and I'll show you because I feel that I should show you. So let's take this example of this same O'Reilly website. So do you see that when I open this website, okay, so you see that the address which is coming over here in which is called typically a URL. I'll talk about that one, and I hope you know about that one. And let me just write that over here, for example. So I'll just write that. You guys know what is URL? Anyone? What is URL? Domain. Okay. Anyone else? Someone says domain, which is maybe correct, but not exact. URL. So first of all, the acronym, it is called Uniform Resource Locator. Yes. Typically, Kara is right. Typically, it is the address of the website. You can write address of the website. Now, HTTPS, I'm writing this S and I'll talk about this. www.google.com. Right? And I'll open that google.com, for example. So if you see, I've opened up this google.com. So what is written over here? It is typically called as URL. It is typically called as URL. So a URL is what which basically refers to the address of the website. Number one, the address of the website is called the URL. Right? Now, if you observe this URL, the very first part says HTTP or it says HTTPS typically. So this HTTP or HTTPS, we are talking about hypertext transfer protocol, and we can talk about HTTPS as well, which is just add a secure. Now, this HTTPS is called the secure. Now, what is this HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol? Hypertext transfer protocol or HTTP is basically a protocol through which web sends and receives information between different devices. So IP address was the address, or IP was the address. Typically, what is the machine where I want to send something, and then how I will send. I will send that information by using HTTP protocol like HTTP or HTTPS. If I'm sending it through HTTP, I'm saying hypertext transfer protocol has been used to send data to other device. Or if I'm using HTTPS, I'll say hypertext transfer protocol secure has been used to send data from one machine to the other. Does that make sense? So URL has come in between our discussion. So you remember that this is typically called as a URL. And I'll just explain a few more things as well, as someone said. Now in this URL, this HTTP or HTTPS represents typically the protocol through which the information has been sent. Makes sense, everyone? And HTTP was a protocol that was used to be like, that was supposed to be used, or it was used previously. But now, since, this cyber security and all those things, what we do is that we typically use this HTTPS because it's a secure protocol. And whenever if someone eavesdrop your information in between, they won't be able to make any sense of it, or they are not able to even eavesdrop, or they are not able to catch something from your communication. But anyhow, we use these two different protocols for the. So if you see here that this URL contains the first part as the HTTP or HTTPS, which typically tells me, okay, I'm sending information by using the HTTP or HTTPS protocol. Then comes another thing, as someone mentioned also. Then comes another thing, which is called domain names. In names, very interesting. These are, you can say, human readable addresses of servers on the internet. What does that mean? Human readable addresses on the servers of the internet. I just told you that actually how do you recognize a device, or how do you recognize a machine on internet is by using IP. That's not only the case with the so they don't have to manage. Yes, exactly, Neil, thank you very much. So typically every website, even this website which you see, google.com, it is typically, it has an IP address, right? And we can find out that IP address as well. And as I said, today I'm just not, for the first session I'm not doing anything. In the second session we'll gets our hand. But anyhow, this website also has some IP address. So actually it is the IP address that I access. Actually, I do not access this google.com. Anyhow, if I want to check it, I can check it, that one as well. Now, if I say here that this basically is an IP address. So domain name typically refers to that, for example, google.com or Google. So Google is the domain name that we are using. If I talk about our website of college, so you see that we have this keen.com. So what is the domain name over here? It is Keen. You know what I mean? So Keen is typically the name of the domain of this our typically college information. So Keen is the domain name. The human readable name is Keen. But remember, be it Google, be it Keen, be it this O'Reilly, all of them have something called an IP address, and that IP address has a typically equivalent human readable name that is called domain name. And what typically works, or does this conversion is called domain name system. This is called DNS. Right. So DNS, what is this DNS? So as I said, that google.com might have an address like this, which is not the case, but I'm just giving you. So this is called IP address. As I said, we have talked about IP address. So maybe I say that it is the Google's IP. 1.1.1.1. It's in this weird form, or maybe we'll talk about this IP addresses also. So this is basically an IP address 1.1.1.1, which typically refers. So let's talk about this. Maybe I'll have to just show you something. If I use a command trace route google.com, trace RT. See here, trace RT. Trace route is for Macs. If you are on Mac, you can just use that one. So see here, I want to show you something. So there is a command trace RT for the Windows, and if you are working on Mac, you can write trace route, complete trace route. It's a command. Now this is very interesting. It says that I'm tracing route to google.com. It's trying to find google.com, and here is an address given with the google.com. Now this address looks a bit difficult a bit different from this 1.1.1.1, but anyhow, I'll let you know that this is IPv6, and we have two versions of addresses. This is IPv6, but there are IPv4 addresses as well, and I'll talk about that one. But anyhow, so do you see here that what I'm doing is that I am tracing route to typically to google.com, and it is trying to go to my google.com. So it is just going out from my system, and then the other one, then the other one, then the other one. So there are lots of systems. But the typical thing to understand is this is the IP address of the Google, which I don't need to remember, and I can directly write google.com forward here. And by the way, if I just copy and paste this one, and if I'm successfully able to copy and paste this one, if I just I don't know it works with the IPv6 or not. If I just go over here and I just try to put that into that one, so it will just try to find out this IP address and who is that IP address anyhow. But typically speaking, the address which it is showing right now, this is the IP address of our google.com. So I was talking about the DNS or DNS servers. So DNS system is basically one that will have this IP, whatever IP that I was talking about, this IP will be converted to Google. So this domain naming system keeps the record of all the IPs and everything. Websites, IP addresses. So domain naming system will be doing what? It is just typically converting the number into the name. It's just like a phone directory. For example, you have a phone number and there is a directory with your name. So if someone wants to call you, for example, they will say, okay, this 226 123 4 5 6 7 8 is the number of, for example, Naman. So they will be just accessing, converting that one. So Naman. So domain name system typically does what? It changes or it converts that typically into that one. So these are the few things that web really works to work on. Is that making sense to everyone? So we are just getting the introduction of web, and today in the second session we'll talk about the HTML and all those things. So these are all typically the how the web works, how the web typically